So I'm sure you're all familiar with the famous Bluegrass G run. And today we're going to take a look at how to use that exact same G run, but in every single key, across every possible chord. So we have 7 chords, right? G, C, D, F, A, E, and B. So the reason I wanted to learn these in every single key is because you can actually use this as kind of like a soloing hack. It's a really, really good way to find a starting point for a solo, regardless of what chord position you're playing out of. All right, now let's check out the G run in every single key, starting with the most common one, the G chord. All right, let's take a look at the first example here, probably the most common. And when we say the G run, we don't necessarily mean in the key of G, we just mean in the G position. So generally, with the standard G run, we're going to be starting on the root note, which is going to be the 3rd fret low E. And then we're going to play a chromatic walk-up. So on guitar, a chromatic walk-up is every fret. So we're going to start on the open A, and then we're going to go to the 1st fret, to the 2nd fret. So that's a chromatic walk. And we're going to end up on an upstroke on that open D. Now keep in mind here that first note that you see, that 3rd fret low E, the root, that's going to be on an 8th note, and we're going to have it on an 8th note for all of these examples here. So we've got the 8th note on a downstroke on the root note, so that in this case it's going to be the 3rd fret low E, and then we're going to play that chromatic walk up on the A string, so open A, 1st fret A, to 2nd fret A, to open D. And then from there, we're going to play 2nd fret D to open. And then we're going to land back on the root note, which is the open G. Okay, so when we look at the same exact G run now in the key of C, so just like we did in the key of G, we're going to start on the root note, in this case the 3rd fret A string. That's going to be on an 8th note, so there's a slight pause there. And then we're going to go to our chromatic move again, right? And this time we're going to be on the D string here. And it's going to be the same fret positions as we had before, and this time it's going to be on the D string. So we're going to play that 8th note on the root, 3rd fret A. And then we're going to play our open D on a downstroke, followed by 1st fret D, followed by 2nd fret D. And then again, you'll see that open G to 2nd fret G to open G. And then just like we had before, we're going to end on the root note, just like we started on the root note. So in this case, it's going to be 1st fret B. Now on this one, I kind of like to keep my hand position, firmly planted on that C major chord shape. And that just helps me to keep everything grounded. Okay, so now let's take a look at this same run in the key of D. Okay, now looking at the G run in the key of D, we're going to use a lot less open strings than we did before, although we're going to be starting on an open D. And then you'll see we have our chromatic move, and this time it's going to be on the same string as the root note. So we're going to play that open D, and then we're going to play 2nd fret D to 3rd fret D to 4th fret D. And that's your chromatic move. And then we're going to move up to that 2nd fret G. So we're just going to kind of take our index finger and place it on that 2nd fret D, followed by 4th fret D, back to 2. And then the root note in this case, in the key of D, is going to be the 3rd fret B. All right, now let's take a look at the G run in the key of F. Okay, so when we play the G run in F now, again, we're going to be starting on the root note here. So we're going to be starting on this 3rd fret D, which is going to be the root note of the F chord. And it kind of starts out the same as the C run, or the G run in C that we learned before, but the only difference is we're starting on the 3rd fret D instead of the 3rd fret A. So we have that 3rd fret D on an 8th note. And then we have our chromatic run, which in this case is going to be open G to 1st fret G to 2nd fret G. And then here we're going to move to the 1st fret B with our index finger and play 1st fret B to 3rd fret B to 1st fret B. It's kind of a similar move to what we had when we learned it in the key of D. And then we're going to end up on the root again, which is the 1st fret E. So you kind of have to do what I like to call a roll-off move there. So the roll-off move is where you're playing one note and then rolling your finger and hitting the note right beneath it. So in this case, we've got a little roll-off move right at the end when we get to the root note, or the 1st fret high E. Okay, and that's going to take us to the G run in the key of A. Okay, so the G run in the key of A is kind of similar in feel to the G run in the key of D. And in this case, we're going to be starting on the root note, which is the open A string, followed by 2nd fret A to 3rd fret A to 4th fret A. That's our chromatic move. And then we're going to go up to that 2nd fret D to 4th fret D to 2nd fret D again. And then in this case, the root note of the A chord is going to be that 2nd fret G. And again, we have kind of a similar roll-off move there from the 2nd fret D to the 2nd fret G. All right, now let's check out the G run in the key of E. So the G run in the key of E is basically a carbon copy of the G run in the key of A, except we're starting on the low E string in this case. So we're going to start on that root note of the E chord, right, the low E. That's an 8th note, so we're going to hit the chromatic move on the 2nd fret low E to 3 to 4. And then from here, we're going to go to the 2nd fret A to 4th fret A to 2nd fret A again. And then just like we did before, we're going to land on that 2nd fret D as the root note of the E chord. All right, and that takes us to the last and probably the most unusual G run in the key of B. So since we're kind of starting on the root note here of the chord we're playing over, we're going to start on the 2nd fret A, which is the root note of the B chord. And then what I like to do for this one is actually shift my index finger up to the 4th fret A, and that's where we're going to start our chromatic move. So our chromatic move in this case is going to be 4th fret A to 5th fret A to 6th fret A. Right, that's our chromatic move. And then from there, we're going to go to the 4th fret D, which is right underneath it, to 6th fret D, to 4th fret D. Then in this case, the root note here is going to be the 4th fret G. So we've kind of got our hand here, sort of up the neck here on this 4th fret position, which is kind of like the country scale for the B major chord. Again, we have that kind of roll-off move that we had before, which is where we roll off from the 4th fret D to the 4th fret G. And that 4th fret G there is the root note of the B chord. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson today. There's many, many more where this came from on my website, also on my YouTube channel. So drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And also, let me know in the comments below if you've tried this before, or if you think that this could be helpful in your soloing as well. Because I know it has been helpful in my soloing to just kind of use this famous G run as a starting point for other solos as well. So that's all for today, guys. We'll see you next time.